I'm not somebody who believes that reversing Citizens United
soundboard. So I know that the other 5 videographers went home with the exact same sound problems. And everybody who was editing the piece was doing the exact same work that I was doing. So all these different people were doing the exact same thing. It's just ridiculous. It only makes sense if you believe in competition. If you have a capitalist view towards media where everybody's competing with each other. There's no place for that in what we're doing here. And yet, we have this really ingrained instinct to just be a rugged individualist. And unfortunately, the autonomous aspect of the movement has encouraged this thing where everybody just makes no decisions about what they're going to do day to day. Oh, I think I'll show up at this rally, and I think I'll write a blog or whatever. And there's a little communication with each other, but we're not even consistent in following through on what we say we're going to do. We cannot continue to operate this way. We are in competition with the mainstream media, one of the biggest industries out there. They've got mega money, and we're trying to do this with little or no money at all. It's a gargantuan challenge, and we can only possibly succeed if we're really serious about it. And I think this means that we need to plan how we cover events, who's going to go, who is going to stream, who is going to tape, who is going to edit. We need to be serious about our commitments, and I think we need to work in an atmosphere in which we respect each other's autonomy, but we really do organize and reinforce each other's efforts. So, for example, if I shoot a video and it goes on the Occupy TVNY YouTube channel, maybe that video is going to wind up embedded on OccupyWallSD.org. Okay, but it will have the bug for the Occupy TVNY channel in the corner there. So, and then somebody else who's tweeting might tweet the reference to that article. So that tweet then contains the name of the website and the name of the YouTube channel where the video is hosted. So, and then of course, the next person tweeting is also establishing themselves as a news source. So 3 different sources go out in one communication. If we make an effort to reinforce each other's presence, publicize each other, we can build up a mass of attention on what we're doing without falling into what you're afraid of, over-centralization, where everything is in the hands of 2 people.
Yeah, if you keep it horizontal, you're not going to have centralization. And basically, with the way we're trying to set this up, there will be no central accounts. The only thing you have is the network of people you work with. And that will keep people honest. Because when you do bad things, you lose access. You lose confidence of other people in you, your power will decline.
Now, what we're thinking of creating here is, in effect, a news bureau, a place where occupiers can work together in amassing media that then individual groups and individual people can use to publicize. So we don't have one central website. We have as many websites as there are.
First of all, this is not about Occupy. This is beyond Occupy.
And it is beyond Occupy as well.
This is beyond. For example, well, she wasn't Occupy, but her main work, for example, right now, is to stand up. And they're doing all this stuff about bike rides. That's a relevant thing. There's a lot of people who should be here who are not here yet. Before it, all the people working on the issue affecting the black community in New York City and fighting against the police oppression. We have no representatives in the community right now. We need to reach out and bring them in and offer our support as media people, but also use that and also train people on the ground to do that. My dream has been for the last 6 months that I should train people to do live stream cop watch programs, so you can have taken out with media centers and consolidate the stuff. Whenever something bad happens, immediately becomes viral. Because that will create a very positive reinforcement mechanism for the police officers involved. And so on. So like, look holistic. If you're going to make a group for New York City, it's not Occupy. It's New York City. It's the people of New York City. Because Occupy now means a subset of New York City. It's no longer Occupy. Back in October was New York City, but things have changed. Occupy is no longer New York City. Things have moved on. But it's okay. We're not married to a name. We're married to an idea. So let's work with that. So, okay, so the biggest problem we had last time we tried to organize it, because this is the second attempt. The first attempt was back in September, 6 months ago, and nothing happened. I mean, I'm not saying nothing happened, but nothing happened when people actually got together and you started working together. What happened was a lot of people did a lot of work on their own. So today, while we discuss all this stuff, I think the first thing is people in here who are focused on specific issues right now or working on projects. So maybe describe your projects to the group so people can start thinking about it. At the same time, people should think in the back of their heads, all right, let's say at the end of the day today, we're going to come out with 3 subgroups. Media acquisitors, people are going to be going and getting the initial reporting, filming or getting this information. Another group that's going to be doing contextualization, and another group that's going to be doing diffusion. And you can be members of both, by the way. It's not like one or the other. We're just different areas of expertise that still work together. So think about how you want to plug in into that. I'm going to set up a working group on comms. You guys can set up a chat. So you'll be able to go into comms every day and see what's going on. There's a calendar. So you'll be able to, in that group, you'll be able to put events in the calendar, and then you'll be able to reach out to the group to get stuff covered and to write about stuff. So this is how you start it. But in the meantime, while we set it up, if we go around the room, the people who are working on interesting projects in New York right now that need media coverage, need contextualization, can you maybe describe it to the rest of the group?
Yeah, I really like the idea of reaching out to, stepping outside of occupied. It's just a matter of how you do it. I was talking to Matt earlier today about the digital divide, and it's there's a lot of people. I mean, of course, there are people who are underprivileged who still have access to computer, but not everybody does, and not especially those who are deeply affected by certain issues such as race and class, welfare, these things. It's how do you give that accessibility to certain individuals? Above that, I mean, I think we should do a lot of street promotion. I mean, or actually not. I mean, I want to ask, what do you feel about street promotion, within our?
I think once you build a structure, plug people in and train them and get them engaged, you should be doing a lot of street promotion. But we've had a lot of outreach before, and then people would come and we plug them in. Right now, 400 people show up and they want to work with you. What are you going to do? So you need to set up the way to organize. But then, yes, what's missing now is more work. We're missing whole vectors right now in this group. We need to address that first. So the second problem you're talking about, digital divide, that's solved not through just outreach. I mean, if you really want to solve it, then this group will create a team, and they're going to go out into churches and the communities, and they're going to start teaching workshops how to do this. They're going to then you got to set up outreach teams that go and educate. That's the next stage. There's only 10 of you now, and actually you don't know what you're doing yet because of collaboration. You just started thinking about collaboration. After you collaborate for 6 months and actually get stuff going, then you actually know enough to teach it to others. Right now, it's just a theory.
I think what we need to establish is work structures and habits. People need a sense of what to do today to best help the occupied media, the uncertain media. I think right now, I know on any given moment, I can think I've got a list of things to do, several dozen long, and it's hard for me to know exactly what is the best thing for me to do. And part of the problem is that I'm not entirely sure who isn't already doing some of this work. So, I think we have to think about a structure that we can tap into and then tap new people into. As we train people, we can just set them up. If this were a commercial enterprise, well, we have the space to come to, right? We would have particular office hours. People would know when to be at a certain place, and we would, most importantly, have specific duties. And anytime you set up a company, you think about all the work that has to be done and then what jobs you need to create to get those things done, and then you make sure that somebody's hired to fill every one of those jobs.
So, yeah, I was just, I'm in a couple of groups right now that are thinking about some things, and some things that are related is looking back at past actions, what we've done. So, I hear this question a lot about there's people, there are groups not being represented, right? And that's usually a problem in Occupy. Where I'm at with that right now, how my thoughts have evolved is it's incumbent on all of us to think about what is the neighborhood we live in, what are the issues facing that community, and what each of us can do to interface with our communities. There is no waiting for Occupy to go in to Crown Heights and talk about the stop and frisk and the real estate gentrification problem in my community, right? That's like, that's up to me and the people who I live with and the people who live in my community to address that. So I mean, that's how we did N17. Why N17 was one of our most successful actions, because it was based on this idea of the neighborhood assemblies coming together and this big day of action and stuff like that. And it's also how we're thinking about, the conversation about May Day starting this year, kind of thinking about a similar framework. But what we did last year for May Day is we had a media spokes council before May Day. And we had everybody in the same room to say, like, who are the journalists, who are affiliated journalists from outside, who are the people who do stuff like radio, who are the live streamers and stuff, and we could have done a lot more and stuff, but we did some of the cursory beginning things of thinking about, okay, what are we all going to do for this action? And, we could have gone a lot further to talking about, well, who's going to shoot, documentary footage, and then, what's the process? Are we going to meet after May Day and edit the stuff and all that stuff? We didn't go that far with that, but, we had a glimpse of what could be done, what the work would be to do that.
Not to be Leninist, but with the question of what's to be done, I myself would also like to have a better understanding of what is the effectiveness of the different channels of media. Because one article in The Nation might get 20,000 prints circulated around, as opposed to a few hundred tweets, which only 10 people see. And so we need to be looking at the effectiveness of these different channels and not just have a page about that. And videos, some are really effective, others aren't. And the other thing about creating structure is, one question I have is, whether you call this an Occupy or New York City Bureau, is you have so many different groups popping up and springing, for example, I Don't Know More sprung up, and many of the people involved with that were not part of the original Occupy Circle, but we did get involved and we met up with them. So I see the website as a open source participatory way for people to jump in. But when you talk about bureaus, you're going to have those organizational barriers, which are not bad things, but I think there's those limits to it.
What do you mean?
So, for example, you might have that agencies of New York City. You might have your stop and frisk crowd, your Occupy crowd, your anti-fracking crowd. But then there's always going to be new groups or new stories that are going to be popping up, and we're just not going to be networked or plugged in. And that's okay. We need to have that kind of flexibility and way to expand without having to necessarily build entire new relationships with everyone everywhere.
I think it's more important for us to figure out how to work as a media team than to think about the specific issues right now. Because as a media team, we'll be covering all kinds of issues. And yes, there will be people who are just about one issue, and they will come and work with us when we're focusing on that issue, and then they'll leave as soon as we go to something else. That's okay. That's totally cool. But let's think about what's going to keep this thing going and consistent and effective.
I just want to say, I'm going to have to take off here shortly, but my interest is pretty general, as far as issues go. I'm pretty much down for providing logistical support as far as shooting or I'm interested in plugging into the group, and then as far as my own availability, it's sporadic. But it is there, so half the time I'm not working. I have my own equipment, so if I know that there's something on a calendar where somebody needs a shooter and somebody that's able to go through the stuff and provide the highlights to the key moments and be able to discuss what the narrative was if somebody wanted to write on it, or, basically that's where I'm at, If I could sign up as far as overall politics and organization. I'm just saying that my skill set is in video production, and I would sign up and make myself available for whatever.
Also, I wanted to experience your point. I have an experience I had in visiting institutions in the past. Is the confidence you have with the activists. So usually there is, in Europe, there's usually no media policy sometimes. Referring to conventional media. People have what?
Did you say media blackout?
No, there's a general tendency to have a distrust for conventional media. And so usually in actions or in demos or in different things, people usually tend to not want to have mass media around because of the negative images that they think they have. And also because of the security culture of, well, maybe of like the action itself is going to be done. People don't like kind of monopolies, like certain legality situations and stuff. And so, how do you get to trust people to trust you to say, no, I'm not, I don't work for ABC, and I'm not a cop, you know, I'm come back, this is for us, and this is how our shows. I've been in conflict, and I have people who had their cameras frozen because they were filming and they didn't like that.
In the United States?
So this is in Europe, yeah.
Has anybody here had any like lasting difficulty with people, trust issues once you explained that you were with our media and not the mainstream?
I mean, I had a lot of issues with occupied standing. A lot of folks felt like there was a need to kind of protect people from. A lot of people seem to have the idea that we were creating this sort of like disaster porn or poverty porn, where it's like, you know, the whole kind of like, for only $1 a day, you can support someone right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get that. It's like, it's on us to tell the story. So it's like, we're not going to walk in there and be like, it's so distraught. You need to like, and this is all obviously under this one instance. People are so distraught. We need to support them. It's like, no, what I'm saying is like, it has the tools and the infrastructure to help you tell your own story. And I'm saying it's completely vital that you tell your own story, or someone's going to tell it for you. That's what it is.
Quick question, is anybody here not on the Global Revolution media listserv or doesn't know how to get to it?
I know where it's at.
You know how to get to it? Okay. Because we do sort of have a media group, actually. Glad we need to start a new group. I'm thinking, what about the one we already have?
But who controls it? That group, you don't just sign up.
Yeah, but it's a little group. Anybody can put themselves in.
No, that's what I'm saying. You have this mailing list.
Hold on.
They don't work.
Okay, but what all I'm saying is that we do have a media group. It's only semblance of order is that listserv, and I've floated out there that we should start having weekly meetings. So if you go there, there is a post to a poll, a Google poll, where we can collectively figure out what would be the best day of the week and time to have a regular weekly meeting. I just want to put that out.
I just want to make a quick comment. I've played the concept great, and I understand that we can. I like the Google group is there too, which is effective. However, as Sean pointed out, I'm sure some other people here or in general would have an issue with this. About the surveillance issue of Google, whatever. We all use Droids and iPhones. Shut up.
No, it's not shut up. Okay, so the whole point.
Come on.
So you can't. So here's the issue with Google groups. You cannot join. Like you can't. There is no search mechanism to find a Google group. You cannot go and like search on Google for a Google group. You can't. Like you can find a website that says the word Google group. You can't search for them. The reason that you know.
Sorry? Can you do that anywhere?
No, you can't. You can. Somebody can send you the link. You can find a page if somebody like points you to it, but they're inherently. They might be open and you can subscribe. So that's one problem. They're hard to find. Two, yeah, who owns the Google group?
We have no idea who owns that Google group.
And we've already known. I mean, last year I'm not on Google. I got off it in January because we know they got infiltrated and all of its emails got posted somewhere online by the fucking guy that defends Wall Street.
It was one of the first ones infiltrated.
Okay, but how can we as a movement find the means to actually physically meet somewhere without putting our names and addresses out in the public forum?
Use the comms. We built the comms so you can do that.
It's a great idea to use something
Okay,
that's not a
so the
listserv.
thing about comms.
Okay, so
Hold on, but I want to say something there. Fuck the money. Comms doesn't do email. There's a reason for that. Because people will screw up and attach a Gmail that has the person's information and forward, and all of that security is gone. So no email. That's why we have the persistent chat. You're going to go into the comms, and this is how you participate. You go to the website, Now, you're free to set up your own mailing list or whatever you want to keep in contact. Because what if cops get attacked? Right? What if there's a full-on DOS that we can't fight? Right? We've managed to block a bunch of them. What if we're not experts? I mean, we're relative experts now, but still, we're not as experts as we need to be. We need more brains in that department, actually. People suggest people trust people to work on that. But anyway, the point is, in comms right now, there's a chat. There's going to be a chat. There's going to be like NYC media chat. You go in that chat, you'll be able to scroll back and see everything that was said. It's not exactly a mailing list, but it's a coordination discussion, log and stuff. And then you have all the other tools. You have the pad, you have the blog book, you have the calendar, you have all of your tools there for your group.
Okay, I'm not urging people to convene on that listserv. I'm asking people to answer the doodle poll that I posted there, so that we can figure out.
I think, okay, so that, from my experience, that's also a mistake.
You can be completely anonymous on doodle.
No, it's not even that. Yeah. People doodle posts with large groups, don't work. You just quickly come up with a date and time, like something like what works for people usually is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evening. That's when they usually people meet to organize, right? Also, make your group open so people don't have to show up to participate. All you have to do is set up a computer, turn on Mumble, and people can set up the mic, and people can hear everything that's being discussed. How do you participate on Mumble? So you can't make it in because you have papers with tomorrow. Great, you turn on Mumble, put on headphones, it runs from your phone. No, but open, that's a huge problem over these assemblies. Because it breaks down the forum. So it's like, make it super accessible. So like, set a time and date when it comes, make it Monday, Tuesday, whatever, if you want to get together. The cool thing about the chat, it's a non-stop assembly, actually. It's a 24-hour assembly. It's not checking into it. Or for now, if you want to make it simple, because right now the chat only works on the site. For now, you can do something even simpler. We can set up a Jabber group, or Jabber.org, group, and the same chat will work there. You can then use it from the phone. Because right now the phone thing is not out on that right now.
Whether we meet in person or online, we still need a regular date and time. Ongoing, like, drop-in, drop-out thing does not work for making concrete plans on a daily basis.
Okay, so we've tried this before, and with all of these efforts have failed before. So I'm suggesting that's different. Forget about meetings for now. You decide what to meet. There'll be a communication tool, you'll know where to go, there'll be a calendar, you'll be able to do whatever. Right now, focus on short-term projects for the next 2 weeks that we can work together on. Get the ball rolling in actual production. Like, that's why I said, what needs to be covered right now? What do the media have to done? Is tracking action? What else?
Dr. Cox spoke to the mayor hike.
Your assignments,
Hospital closings.
Okay, so for those projects that's coming up,
So there's going to be, I think, 3 different national announcements.
Valentine's.
Yeah.
Well, so Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Probably too late to actually get this group fully functional for that. But for the stuff that's in 2 weeks, let's take those actions, and then let's figure out how to do the background research. So that those actually happens, we can deliver good media that incorporates the history of these actions as opposed to just this happening. So that would be like, because you deliver, you guys work together and create a one thing, that'll become the gold standard from which you can start, the standard, but that would be a starting point from which you can start developing other things. This is how you're going to bring more people in, because otherwise it's the same occupied bullshit. Sorry. We have a lot of fucking assemblies that don't get anything done. So, cut that assembly for that. In terms of like...
I don't think you can delay meetings. Okay, I'll just make it less popular. I think the big problem with Occupy is that not enough people here actually have enough experience in real, like, the corporate world where things have to get done. And, you know,
no, it's not that. No, what happens is we meet, we talk. We meet, we talk, we commit to do things, then we don't get them done.
Yeah, that's the problem that I've been in many working groups, I've been in a lot of working groups, and they often had this problem that they didn't make a differentiation between meetings, like theoretical meetings, and work sessions. So there's a work session that's like, we're going to do a skill share. This is how you use live stream. This is how you use the channel switcher and stuff. You know, or this is a talking meeting. But often the failure was, I was in the archives group. We would meet and talk about archives all the time, but nobody ever met to like go through the archives and, you know, organize catalog stuff, right? So there's work meetings and there's these kinds of things. I think that's the differentiation.
I'm going to have to split. I don't know what the next step is going to be.
The next step is go to our Project Council, making group right now, NYC Media, I already created it.
Okay.
Join it. Make an account.
NYC
I
Media.
think it's, yeah, NYC Citizen Media. It's a coordination media for citizen journalism in New York. It's
Okay.
what we created.
Okay.
Like,
So do we have subgroups?
you can create subgroups in that.
Can we decide on subgroups?
I think this meeting, we can, sure. I think we should have position, context, and diffusion. Acquisition, context, and diffusion. And context, I mean, as people, you should, diffusion is not going to have anything to do until the context is done.
Right.
Right. So if you want to diffuse anything, you've got to get your ass and get it context done. I mean, you have to, as a streamer, more streamers, you don't pull whoever's streaming, whoever's pulling information, you just pull into that group, you pull that information. So you have Mark, what's the other streamer right now? Mike, yeah. But he's
Hello.
right now, but he always pulling into streaming uses whatever. So you know what I'm saying? And then, so that acquisition group is going to figure out who covers what. That's your first thing, right? But then the context group is a very interesting group. Because, like, for example, the action's coming out. The context group, they track down people who actually give us information on how to create the story. That's the secret sauce we're missing. And then the diffusion group, yes, the diffusion group, there's going to be 2 of you in it right now to begin with, probably 3 or 4.
Can you explain what you mean by diffusion?
Making stuff go viral.
Okay. I mean, maybe we borrow the term from the French. They have
What's Spanish?
The French also use it. I was in France.
It has a connotation of things getting scrubbed before the page is needed anymore.
No, it's a group that's going to push the stuff. Twitter, Facebook, it's going to be the people who are going to take the materials that you guys create and make sure other people see it. So you're going to be, and it's not like I said, if you're in one group, it doesn't mean you're not in the other group. It's just like West, but we're trying to separate. That's a logical separation for things, so people can focus on what they want to focus on. Otherwise, you get the diffusion you're talking about.
I just want to say, I think I could distribute both these concepts to writing. So, although you know more on some issues than others, I prefer to write things I know about. I think that makes sense.
My first suggestion is work with Matt,
Uh-huh.
because you're running right now a full, you're already running the model basically by yourself. Okay, think about it. You're already running the model by yourself. But you can write your own art based on your stuff. But I'm saying, you can work with Matt in the beginning, for example, because he's already doing the whole thing. If you go out and shoot the action, then just to write about it to get it out. So maybe before you leave, exchange emails. No, and that's plug in, because he can maybe then help you in preparation for whatever action.
The main thing you're running now is the tracking thing?
I finished all crafted with it. It's pretty much just whatever comes up. I don't.
He covers everything.
Yeah, right.
The problem is, he's not an expert.
Well,
You're not an expert in it.
neither will I.
Neither you.
And he's
Why? Because action was 23rd, and you want to contact, you do research on that action. Then you can actually write it. And you will have his feeds or other people's feeds, like media information, that you add the history to it. Then it's regarding before it's all in real time. You get it out that day. And then PM and whoever else doing the diffusion is going to take the article and push it. Then you actually position the 4 people, you take it out again. No, then it's not, because you're coming up with a contextualized story that reports the actual thing that happened better than they are, with the actual story, with a team that's actually making it viral, it's actually by appearing as they're doing it. And our goal actually is not to replace CNN. Our goal is to put CNN, all these companies, in the position where they have to tell the truth.
Right.
Because our truth is coming out for them, and then their life becomes their parent. The same thing that happened with Wright. We're going to put the same end game in Wright as we put now apply to the next level.
I mean, my question is like when promoting a media, there is viewers are very selective in what they want to like retweet and stuff. An article from the New York Times is going to get pushed out much more than say Project Blog, someone that no one ever heard about. And so I have the question of essentially about like recreating all of your media when there's still a crowd kind of vetted process of authenticity and quality. So, like, I don't see it's necessarily good to be constantly recreating all media when instead you can be thinking of selecting like what of the corporate medias in your plans, or maybe smaller, maybe things like the Nation and the Salon, like which of them you want to push out? Because
No, of course, but that's a whole, okay, but that's a whole different story, because like, the machine we're building here is going to be creating news stories about events at the same time or before the corporate media is done. That's the thing.
Also the issue of like, when using the internet, you tend to be funneled into like the choir. So when you like, you preach all like, these issues, it's gonna be hard getting outside of like your own like already like tunnel like people. Like it's just gonna get to people that already like know pretty well like the context of these issues. You're not supposed to be like, I guess the target for me at least would be the people who don't already know about these things and these issues that can be fed like the well facts and these collected data that so they can get the clear context of the situation, but they won't reach it because all of this is being funneled through like Facebook and Twitter into a select group, which is already like people who are already activists or already involved with like democratic or whatever, like things of the leftist nature.
Okay, so you know what? That's why you have a diffusion group. It's a problem. And it's a problem that a group of people who are focusing on working in this context need to sit down. Like there's no magic bullet, but I think if 20 of you spend, like we build a group of 20 people with all these different ideas and so on, and they start thinking, okay, how do we break out of the box? They break out of the box.
But I mean, it wasn't a lot of like the success of getting like these stories pushed out there was because we defined the narrative, not because we were necessarily contradicting the corporate media, but they decided to focus on stories that we talked about. For example, like that was the whole point of Occupy. We focused on the economy rather than deficit or some other nonsense.
And that's why you need to be first.
I think you also have to realize at this point, even if you make something viral, we'll give something that's going to give an alternate opinion to whatever CNN or mainstream does. I mean, certainly make it viral, but at the same time, whether or not we're controlling the narrative, I wouldn't ever want to. It's possible, but I wouldn't want to put a conclusion of a different opinion because I think that part of the reason that we were able to in the first place is because no one expected it to take off. And they just pretty much ignored it the first 2 weeks and then it blew up. And then they had discussion, they looked close. Though they weren't even bothering with it, we were blasting all over the shit, and they said, oh crap, I have to deal with this now, and that's when they were talking about money in politics. This is the first time. But I think now, they're aware of things going on. They'll talk about it, but it's not to the same effect. And everyone should be aware of that, even though we can still certainly have an impact.
Well, I mean, you're still getting them to compete with each other, and like Wikileaks did to a large extent, where Fox, CNN posts the video of collateral murder, then Fox News is like, wait a minute, we need to post the video, or else we're not going to have the same source of legitimacy. The same thing's happening with Dorner. Like none of the media outlets want to publish it, but if they don't, they will lose space. And that's why CNN is because it's constantly not reporting on these as it should be, amongst many other examples.
Are we still talking about changing the paradigm? Like we want to revolutionize mainstream media, just the way that they focus attentions on people's struggles. Do we still want to do that? Do we want to combat sort of, like how news is saturated with like this Dorner thing? Like every channel you turn on, it's all saturated with one issue. And we want to sort of like combat that. We want to say, hey, look, there are diverse issues, people's problems going on, and we want to show the lack of attention as being broad, at the same time not keep ourselves sort of in that position where we're still always kind of the underdog, you know what I'm saying? Or we're still kind of like never making it to mainstream or not, because then it's not effective, But that's what we want to do, though, right? Like, I mean, because I heard you say, like, why do we want to change the way, why do we want to compete with them? I think that by our nature, we're already competing. Like, I'm already walking the street, you're walking up an uphill battle. The point I'm trying to make is that, like, we're already competing. By the nature of our truth speaking is in direct clashes exactly what they're, wanting to, keep everyone brainwashed or focusing on the same issue or same story. You know, so we want that diversity. I think. I think that's important. I think that's important that we keep that diversity. And you know, so do we want to mimic them?
I want.
Or feel like we're competing with them?
Also, I think another thing that to reference both of you, I think, the media tends to focus on one issue obsessively and turn it into a massive frenzy and hysteria about it. They did the same thing. They did that with Sandy Hook and everything in gun control. They're doing the same thing with Dorner. I'm sorry, but it's essentially hysteria at this point. People are going apeshit over it. And I'm sorry, people die all the time. This is not like an isolated. It's one weird incident, but this isn't the first time this shit's happened. They're just exaggerating it. The question I'm always wondering is, when something like this happens, as well as when the Sandy hurricane happened, what happened is, what I was wondering is, what happened otherwise they weren't talking about? For example, when they were dealing with hurricane relief in Sandy, they built the pipeline right underneath the Rockaways, and no one talked about that shit. When Bowling for Columbine happened, when the shooting at Columbine happened, as I think I saw Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore said that that was when Clinton bombed Kuwait more than any other time, and no one talked about it. We have to get that set up. We have to. A good thing a good thing that could be utilized from this is to bring it into those issues so that it's not just one thing and kill the hysteria, because hysteria just creates gossip. It doesn't create any constructive discussions in the end.
Okay, so what can we practically do to combat this? I mean, we can't tell people what to watch, and we can't stop commercial media from doing what it's doing. All we can do is what we are already doing, but do it more efficiently. Now, my experience in YouTube is that if you manage to get video of something that happened within the last 24 hours on YouTube, you've got a good chance of getting a lot of viewers because people are actually looking for this stuff. If you're later than 24 hours, your chances go way, way down. Your hit numbers go way, way down. This is the problem that all of us working in video are facing all the time, is we spend hours taping something, and then we spend hours and hours and hours editing it, and then we have to sleep before you can get it on YouTube or whatever. So why it's so important for us to work as a team and have people, editors. We talk about how few writers we have. We're very short on video editors. That's a big thing. But yeah, I guess that's basically it. You know, we can use if we're efficient, we can make a little bit of competition. We can make a significant amount of competition. Just get the word out there. Vlad is really emphasizing the point of giving the why. Why did this actually happen? Why such and such? Why are people protesting? This is what this is the missing voice in the dialogue out there, and this is what we are out to provide. And we can definitely use, if not the core of the mainstream, the fringe of the mainstream. For instance, Gawker.com. If you send them an interesting story, they're gonna print it. They're gonna put it on their site. And if you've got a video or something, I can tell you, you're gonna get hundreds of more hits there. So our publicity or diffusion team needs to be putting out whatever we create on all these little various things like all these little sites and local TV stations that are really looking for content.
One question or comment on what you were saying about filming lots of stuff and not being able to edit and stuff. I think one of the keys that I learned from the past was to film thinking in the story and just try to get the minimal maintenance you need to make the editing.
I know. I've gotten way better at this. It still takes so long when you're working alone. And you never edit your own stuff as well as you edit somebody else's stuff or somebody else edits it.
I'm just like thinking that someone's gonna have to like edit it, don't like stuff that you know.
I feel much better when I know I have somebody lined up to edit my footage. I feel much more confident about going to the shoot.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I guess so. You're right. Yeah. I have a hard time like editing somebody else's stuff because maybe I leave something out that they wanted to put in, or they felt was important that I skipped.
Well, you're not making the video for them.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, because the thing is this though. At the same time, they're there, so they're getting the 360 view. While I'm only getting, what the lens captures. So I've
just seen so many examples where the editor had a better idea than I did.
Okay.
They included footage that I was going to throw out. They threw out something that I was attached to, but then I saw, like, yeah, actually, that was a distraction from the main story. It's really good. It's really good. Instead of an extra paragraph.
Oh, no. It's good to have more than an extra set. Definitely. Multiple.
And you never necessarily competing with the media. What can we do that's different, not to be redundant?
Well, I think democracy now is a pretty good example that I was talking about these other things that are not mainstream, but are certainly bigger than us, that are hungry for content. Democracy Now! Was one of the 5 other cameras that was there at the event the other night. I talked to the woman who was there, like, hey, you want to collaborate, share our footage? And she was like, I like the idea, but I have to run it by people above me. So that's an example of where there's progress to be made. If we were more together, I would feel more confident saying, yes, let's talk about this. I would like to be able to say, yes, we have a team that can help you guys. We're going to give you guys more news.
No, I we're not collaborating.
Right away, there's an answer. What are we going to be doing this different now? Well, we're going to be collaborating with anyone who's willing to collaborate with us. And that right there is so many more options, right? And we actually have potentially have a higher account, which will pay out much bigger than because they have a whole vetting process and we are actually there.
Alright, again, I mean, I have a problem with emulating other people's successes, even though they are successes, like Marks now. I would like that, sort of like, I was telling Matt in Philly, like, you are the future, man. Like, like live stream journalism is the way of the future. We need to approach this like, what we do, what these meetings are important. What we decide people might be using for years and years, the same sort of technique or things. And we need to find out like what works, what doesn't. And that's not necessarily like emulating somebody else's style. It's sort of like finding your own identity, and having, because we're doing something brand new, essentially brand new. And so the rules aren't written, and we have to write the rules. Or like show me examples where like stuff like this is anywhere. Like I know they have, they'll have the ABC lady come out or guy come out with the band and do the live thing behind it. They have the taped, heavily edited pieces they run. And that's you, John, or whatever. That we're changing it. Like we're changing that that lady with the microphone to like guy running, getting close, with the camera or something. So I think the rules have changed, and we need to. It's important that we need to hone in on what we need to do, how it's changing, and how we can get more effective.
I think one of the key examples or a project that set I think like a person step in this in its time was the media, like in the late 90s or 2000s. That was like the first hate the media, be the media, citizen, citizen participatory, like anyone can publish, anyone can put their video and uncensored. I think that's kind of like the objective of most groups that come out as soon as that time period is really big in the I think it's not supposed. I think the aim is not to try to copy like mass media. It's trying to be like alternative popular media that's organized from the people, from the activists to tell the truth, to make people interested in science.
And how to cross-pollinate the information. I mean, somebody tries to like aggressively be like posting to Reddit, posting. Different stuff, like Craigslist, or just different places where people, what kind of frames, look, or like topic groups and stuff, 4chan, those kind of things. Like, you need to be aggressively posting things.
Right,
I think cross-pollinate.
I'm going to say part one when I come back. We created a group now on COMS. So we're going to do two things. To facilitate organizing of this, everyone just leave your contact info with Atik. He's not a fan, I promise, I think.
No, he's not.
I think he's not a fan. Anyway, so he can get in contact with us. There's a working group that has a calendar. So this particular group doesn't have a wiki, nothing, because all your wikis, all of your analysis is going to go on operational, like, about action please, right? This is for you guys to get a calendar and to organize who's covering what, who's doing research and what, to facilitate the whole thing, right? There's actually a website for this. It's organized, and minus one is in Spanish. So we're not going to push there yet until they translate it. But we can use